Okay, so settling yourself. Once you've arranged yourself satisfactorily, meaning once you are assured that you are centered on the bolster, centered on the mat, the head is straight, arms are arranged symmetrically, hands soft, palms soft, thumb joint soft, outer thighs releasing to the floor, outer shins releasing to the floor, little toes releasing to the floor. Once you have all of that arranged, then rest. So it's important to start from a place of passivity, a place of quietness. So it's interesting to do pranayama early in the morning because you've just come out of sleep. So definitely we don't want to go back to sleep. It is meant to be when we time our pranayama with the rising of the sun, then we're in sync with the rhythm of the earth, and the prana of the earth is rising just as the prana in the body is rising. So here, as you're resting and the light is starting to come in through your windows, then you can also become more sensitized to the prana in your body that's rising. So it's not shavasana that you would do in the evening near bedtime, and it's not like when you go to bed at night and are moving towards sleep. We're moving out of sleep, but still the body and mind are relaxed. So um, it's not like jumping out of bed and going for a run. It's a gradual attention, a gradual rise of the prana, and attention to that gentle rise of the prana. Just as the sun is starting to penetrate now and light up the outer world, then we're also starting to cultivate the rise of the prana to light up the inner landscape. So the breath is a vehicle for the prana, it's a metaphor for the prana. It's not exactly the same as the prana, but it's one way that we can access and augment and work more consciously with the prana. So here, observe the movement of the breath. Observe the abdomen rising and falling. The abdomen is rising and falling because the diaphragm is moving down and moving up. So as the diaphragm moves down, the contents of the abdomen get pushed outward, get pushed downward and outward. And then as the diaphragm moves back up, when you exhale, then the contents of the abdomen settle back down. So the abdomen is responding to the breath. The abdomen is not creating the breath. The abdomen is only responding to the movement of the diaphragm. So not to exert any abdominal effort in the breath, but just to observe the abdomen moving in and out, which indicates that the diaphragm is moving up and down. Now, the breath is not limited to the abdominal region. I mean, the breath is really in the lungs, but as the lungs expand, then you'll also start to feel the entire rib cage expanding also with the breath. So as the diaphragm pulls down, it creates a vacuum effect, which pulls the air into the lungs. And then as the abdomen releases upward, then the lungs get emptied. So now, as the breath continues, you may notice that the rib cage is also responding to the breath. We're not doing anything special with the breath yet, but just in your breath observation, you may notice that the rib cage is starting to respond. So the other day, in our workshop, I introduced a slightly different breathing pattern than what we usually do. So I'll just say a little bit more about it before we launch into it. So this 3-stage breath that I am suggesting, it's allowing the diaphragm to move down, and the abdomen will respond by by rising to some extent. And then as the breath continues, the auxiliary respiratory muscles of the intercostals, the chest muscles, they will all participate by expanding the chest more. And then when we add the lift of the abdomen, it resists the diaphragm actually, and then the diaphragm will spread wider, and then the breath will expand more into the chest region. So I'll talk you through it, and then you'll do some cycles on your own. All right. So now we're starting to switch to Ujjayi. So from the resting breath, exhale completely. Inhaling, feel the abdomen rise in response to the breath. Keep inhaling, then you'll feel the rib cage expand 3-dimensionally, 360 degrees. Then add the abdominal lift, pulling up and back, and the diaphragm will spread wider, and the breath will spread into the chest region more. Then keep that Uddiyana Bandha, the abdominal lift, as you exhale. And then take a resting breath or two. The purpose of this breathing pattern is to allow the lower lungs, is to invite the lower lungs to fill. Often we breathe with just like the upper part of the lungs, but in order to access the lower lungs, we're We're trying this other pattern. All right, so exhale completely. Inhaling, abdomen rises. Keep inhaling. The entire rib cage, circumference of the rib cage expands. Keep inhaling. Add the abdominal lift in order to fill the entire expanse of the lungs, especially the lower lungs. And then exhaling. So as you exhale, the air is released from the bottom lungs to the middle lungs to the upper lungs, and finally empties out through the nose. And then take a resting breath or two. You don't have to follow my rhythm. I was just offering the pattern, the sequence of actions in the breath. All right. And continue on your own rhythm. We have enough daylight now that I can put the candles out. And see if you can really feel the entire rib cage expanding. And so it's a feeling of each stage of the breath fills a certain part of the lungs. But then when that final stage, when we add the abdominal lift, that Uddiyana Bandha, then hopefully you feel the air being pulled down all the way into the lower lungs. And the beauty of that, the beauty of the breath reaching the lower lungs, is that the air sacs of the lower lungs are connected with the parasympathetic nervous system. So that feeling of calmness that you get when you take a nice deep breath, it's because the lower lungs, the air sacs of the lower lungs are being filled, are being stimulated. So that last stage of the inhale, which is the abdominal lift, hopefully it pushes the air all the way down into the lower lungs. And then as you exhale, maintaining that abdominal lift so that you're emptying the lungs from bottom to top and expelling the air completely from the lower lungs to the middle lungs and the top lungs. Expelling the air completely is also a challenge for most of us. Most of us don't exhale fully. And so we're not employing the entire lung capacity. Do a couple more cycles, do 2 more cycles. And then return to normal breathing. It's very interesting that Alice's cat places themselves on that spot on Alice's abdomen, because I was just watching a video of Mr. Iyengar in a Q&A, and somebody asked a question about pranayama, and he had them come up on the stage, and he put his foot on their abdomen to get them to feel what's happening when the abdomen is lifting and the diaphragm spreads sideways. So it's just interesting that the cat sort of naturally places themselves there. Okay, so finishing up, back to the resting breath, and then make your way up to seated. All right. Sit cross-legged and have your blankets ready. One blanket under your knees. In Swastikasana, I'm sitting up on a bolster so that I can have full access of my spine. One blanket across the lap as kind of like a desk for my hands. So we will repeat that breath pattern, this time as Viloma. Okay, so we'll insert pauses. So the first stage is just a pretty relaxed abdominal breath. So the diaphragm is moving down, the abdomen expands, and you pause. Then as you inhale more, the rib cage will naturally expand because there needs to be more space. And pause. And then the third stage, when you add the abdominal lift, the Uddiyana Bandha, then the purpose is to get maximum expansion of the chest and to draw the air from the upper lungs down into the lower lungs. Okay? So we'll do the 3-stage inhales and then a slow, soft exhale, keeping that abdominal lift. The purpose of the abdominal lift during the exhale is to push the breath from the bottom lungs to the upper lungs out through the nose. Okay, to exhale completely, to expel the air from the bottom lungs. All right, so I'll talk you through the first few cycles. Then you'll do some cycles on your own. Sit up really tall, roll your shoulders back. I'll say that, you could say that the arms are also part of the respiratory system to some extent, because the rotation, if the arms are just hanging, it's not doing anything for my breath. But if I externally rotate my arms and draw the elbows down, then I can feel the shoulder blades pressing down, and I can feel the chest lifting some more. So the action of the arms can assist. Now, once the arms are in place, then I'm not really working muscularly in the arms. I'm just allowing that placement of the arms to support the respiratory system. All right? So have your hands, palms face up, glasses off. I'm keeping my glasses on so I can watch you. Rolling the upper arm bones out, spread across the collarbones. Then bring your head down. See that the chest is lifting up toward the chin. See that the shoulders are pulled back. Take the hands as wide as the shoulders. Soften the thumbs, however. So when you widen your hands, it's not a matter of doing it with your hands. It's a matter of doing it with the upper arm bones rolling out and the heaviness of the elbows pulling down. Throat soft, sides of the neck soft, back of the neck long, cervical spine moving from back to front. Exhale completely. Take a slow, soft inhale, take a slow, soft exhale, just to prepare the way. When you're done with the exhale, now inhale, feel the abdomen respond, pause. Keep inhaling, feel the chest now respond and expand. Pause, keep the head down. Inhale, now pull the abdomen up and back. Pause. And then slowly exhale, keeping the abdominal lift. And at the end of the exhale, take a resting breath or two. And we'll repeat. Exhale completely. Inhale, abdomen rounds and pause. Keep inhaling, and the rib cage now will respond. Rib cage expands in 360 degrees. Pause. And then now add the abdominal lift. Abdomen pulls up and back. The diaphragm moves to the sides. The bottom lungs fill. Pause. Keep the abdominal lift as you expel the air out slowly, emptying the lungs from the bottom to the top. And one slow, soft exhale. And then take a resting breath when you're done. Resting breath or two. And let's repeat. So this is Abhyantara Viloma. Exhale completely. The first inhale is rather casual. It's not an intense inhale. The abdomen responds, pause, and then keep inhaling. Now the rib cage will respond. Expansion of the entire rib cage, pause. And now, Uddiyana Bandha, the abdomen pulls up and back. The diaphragm moves to the sides. The breath comes all the way in, filling the entire expanse of the lungs. And then slowly exhale, keeping that abdominal lift. Right, recovery breath or two. And now do 3 more cycles on your own. 3 more cycles of Abhyantara Viloma. See how steady each stage of the inhale can be. That is, don't disturb what came before when you add the subsequent layers. When you add the second layer, not to disturb the first layer, and then also to observe the pauses, to see if you can bring everything to a very quiet standstill. These pauses are important for toning the diaphragm, making the diaphragm more strong, more supple. These short periods of retention. So with that strong and supple diaphragm, our breathing will be more resilient, more flexible, more responsive to various conditions. After you finish your cycles, then return to normal breathing. And with your eyes closed, bring your chin up when you're done. When you're finished, change the cross of your legs. And we'll just do a few cycles of Ujjayi to sort of complete, to kind of wrap things up. So we'll do 3 Ujjayi, Bahya Abhyantara Ujjayi, 2. So now smoothing everything out, sort of wrapping everything up. 3 slow, soft Ujjayi breaths. So spread the chest open, bow your head down. Start when you're ready. Okay, so 3 slow, soft, smooth Ujjayi breaths. Following that same pattern of allowing the diaphragm to move down, the abdomen will expand. When you're seated, the abdomen doesn't expand as much as when you're lying down. But still, you'll feel, I'm saying, no resistance in the abdomen until the end of the inhale. So first, fill the abdomen, fill the chest, then lift the abdomen, pull it back in order to get the sideways movement of the diaphragm and the engagement of the auxiliary respiratory muscles of the intercostals, the chest, the back muscles even engage in the final stage of the inhale. And then to keep all of that as you slowly exhale until the end of the exhale, and everything can soften. After you finish your Ujjayi breaths, then bring your head up, eyes closed. Then stretch your legs straight and lie down for Shavasana. Okay. If you're comfortable lying flat on the floor, do so. Otherwise, if you need head support, you can do that too. And I will be closing out, but you can stay as long as you want in Shavasana. Settle yourself. Let the breathing be very relaxed. Don't do anything special with the breath now. Let the breathing be very passive, relaxed, quiet. Hopefully you feel some enlivenment of the prana fully rising, stimulating, balancing all your systems of the body, respiratory, circulatory, nervous system, calm, and relaxed. So you can stay as long as you want. Have a wonderful day.